Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is Count Macula, and about a year ago, maybe two, I made a video that went pretty viral about how to basically clean a house. And people really liked that video, and one of the things that I failed to do in that video was talk about what in the butt is all this? What the poop is this? What is that? So today I'm going to talk about it. We're going to go over this stuff, not all of it in detail, but I want to show you what you need to clean a house versus what you don't, and is all this crap absolutely necessary? Spoiler alert, it's not. And in fact, you can do your entire house with nothing but this and some water. But there's a reason that this stuff exists, and it basically boils down to time and energy. So let's dive into the different categories of what this stuff is used for, and I'm going to drastically simplify this entire process for those of you who aren't cleaning nerds. So before you get into cleaning, you need to know what type of dirt you're messing with. Is it grease? Is it just regular dirt? Is it dust? In most cases, you can get away with just using a little bit of dish soap and some water. And all you're going to do is just wipe the surface down and then dry it. So why, if that's all you need, do you need this and this? These just speed up the process. Both of these are basically degreasers. This is a multi-purpose cleaner. This is a mean green that is a heavy-duty degreaser. You can clean something with just water if you want. It's just going to take a lot more time and a lot more physical effort in scrubbing. These break down dirt much faster than water and much faster than just dish soap alone. This other bottle that I have here, I call APC, that stands for all-purpose cleaner. That's just a mixture of alcohol, water, and a little bit of dish soap. I've used mine down to about there, but whenever you're doing regular cleaning, you want to put about that much isopropyl alcohol, maybe a little bit less. And then the rest of the bottle is filled with water and about 5 or 6 drops of dish soap. And that'll clean most things. But it will not clean grease as fast as either one of these. The other thing that these do that regular water doesn't do is it provides scent. So as funny as it sounds, about half the time or more, the thing that makes me choose between this and this is I like the smell of this a lot more. And genuinely, that's what a lot of people choose their cleaners based on. And they're totally fine. All this stuff does the same thing. The other thing to consider is, are we cleaning or are we disinfecting? So a lot of people will do a bleach and water combination to clean. And technically it's cleaning, but this is more for disinfecting and sanitization. Now, some people swear by white vinegar to clean with. Now, this is a regular everyday bottle of white vinegar. Cleaning vinegar is much more acidic. The thing with vinegar is it is a natural option to clean, but it is extremely weak compared to literally everything else on this table. Cleaning vinegar is very weak, and it doesn't break down things nearly as fast as, say, like CLR. Or here's the spray version. This, since it's acidic, is very good at breaking down limescale and calcium and rust deposits that are on sinks and tubs, but it takes an extreme amount of time for vinegar to do any of that. Whereas CLR is way more powerful and does it in 100 times the speed of regular vinegar. That said, none of these disinfect. This does. So I don't necessarily use bleach for cleaning, but if I need to really disinfect something, I could resort to this. You won't see me using a lot of this on the videos that I do because I'm allergic to bleach. So it's kind of a nuclear option for me, and whenever I do use it, I'm very careful and I have to wash my hands right after I come into contact with it. The other thing to consider is, are you cleaning or are you removing stains? So technically, you could do a toilet with just a toilet brush and water. However, again, it's going to take an extreme amount of time to do it and an extreme amount of scrubbing. So between these two toilet cleaners, both of these remove nasty stuff from a toilet, but this is more to remove stains. It has bleach in it. It's Clorox Cleaning Bleach Gel. This is an acidic toilet bowl cleaner, and that is meant for lime and rust. That's how you can tell it's acidic. Acid cleaners dissolve lime and rust. So if you're getting rid of actual physical problems on the toilet, like a buildup of hard water, you will want to use something like this. If you're wanting to remove stains, you'll want to use this, and never ever mix these two things together because they are opposing chemicals and they'll create a nasty fume. The same thing can be said about these two products. They look the same. They have the same type of opening on the can. The can itself is made of the same stuff. The powder, you can tell it's on top of them, look exactly the same, but these are opposing chemicals. This one is bleach, this one is acid. And both of these are used for things like sinks, bathtubs, toilets. They're kind of an all-purpose cleaner. Some people call it the scouring powder, but it's not like a scouring as you think it would be. It doesn't really dull things up. But the uses for these are really specialized. So I use the one with bleach for anything that's porcelain, including tubs, sinks, toilets. And the bleach content, along with the scouring part of it, gets rid of a whole lot of stains. So that's very, very good for things that are basically porcelain and ceramic. However, this one is used for stainless steel. This will make a stainless steel sink look brand new. And whenever I use that, I use this type of a sponge with either one of these. Again, don't mix these two things because they are opposing chemicals. But this little scratch pad on the back isn't scratchy enough to actually scratch the surface of what you're cleaning. The back part of it is a regular sponge. I like these better than Scrub Daddies because they're really cheap, and when they wear out, they're so cheap they're basically disposable. We'll get to what all these sponges and rags mean in a minute, because to be honest, to me, cleaning is not as much about this as it is about this. This is, I think, where people get confused about cleaners. All of these are meant for wood, but only one of these is an actual cleaner. The rest are all polishes. Murphy's soap is meant for floors or anything wood, and it's an actual soap. It's meant to clean wood. These, Pledge, Liquid Gold, and Old English, those are polishes. Those are meant to dress up the wood and make it shine after you've used something like this. I typically only use Murphy's on hardwood floors and pretty much nothing else. I don't use Pledge at all because to me it doesn't do nearly as good a job as Liquid Gold or Old English, but I'll use these after I've cleaned wood with, say, just regular everyday dish soap or a wet rag, and then after it's dried, I'll apply this. You just spray it on, wipe it off. But I think this can be confusing to people because they think that these four things are cleaners when they're actually not. They're just dressing. Speaking of floors, these are all floor cleaners. This one it's basically a Lysol everyday cleaner. You can use it on not just floors, but just about anything. It's a multi-surface cleaner. I typically buy this and I'll use it on floors, and I will dilute it. On the back of the bottle, it will tell you how to mix these different things for the different surfaces that you're cleaning. So, for instance, this one says makes up to 28 gallons of cleaning power, whatever that means. But a lot of people, I think, won't know that when you buy something like this and it says 2 times concentrated, or even if it doesn't, this is meant to be mixed with water. These, however, are meant for a specific type of mop that I use called a bonus system. This one is meant for just hard surface floor, like my tile on my floor. This one is meant for hardwood, and I don't know the difference between these two. I would assume that this one would have some sort of oil or polish mixed in with it that makes a hardwood floor shine, whereas this one, if it had some sort of oil in it, you don't want to get that on tile. I've used both for both different types of floors, and I've never had a problem, but I'd rather be safe than sorry and just use this on tile, this on hardwood. But you'll want to check if you're buying any other type of floor cleaner to make sure that it's meant for use with your different type of floor. Again, you can mop your floor with just everyday water, and if water isn't enough to get it clean, then you can add a little bit of dish soap, not much because you don't want suds all over your floor, just a couple of drops. But this stuff just makes it way faster, and it just smells better. And that brings us to specialty cleaners. Now, I use these because they're all about speed. You could clean your oven without Easy Off oven cleaner. You could remove stains with another weaker chemical from carpets or whatever. But these things really speed up the process, and it's the type of cleaners that you can put on walk away from them for a little bit, and then come back after they've had time to activate. These are the types of things you put on and then you want them to set for a bit. So these come in all different types of brand, but it's a stain and odor eliminator. It's meant for pet accidents on carpets or whatever. Use these as directed, but these are specialty cleaners meant for special types of situations. Oven cleaner is the same way. You spray it on the inside of your oven and you walk away for like a couple of hours and let this do its thing. Goo Gone I always keep on hand, because if you ever have a hard surface that has a sticker or tape on it, this dissolves the adhesive and lets you just peel the sticker right off, and it gets rid of the residue under it. This is like a leather conditioner. It's not really meant to clean, but it makes your couch look nice if you have a leather couch, leather seats in cars, dashboards. Again, all these have special uses, and they're absolutely not necessary, but they are life-saving when you don't want to sit there and scrub on something all day long. This stuff that I have here and this stuff that I have here, this is another form of adhesive removal, and I only use this if I have to tear out a carpet, so this is more industrial. TSP stands for trisodium phosphate, and it looks a whole lot like the Comet and Barkeeper's Friend that we looked at earlier. But that is meant for specialty cleaning, especially whenever you're dealing with corrosion on, say, the outside of a house, or a house that's completely covered in nicotine. But definitely read the directions on both of these. I keep this on hand, but I rarely ever use it. Whenever I do use something like this, I keep it away from glass because it'll etch glass and turn it foggy. Now, I'm aware that you're not going to remember all that. It took me years to figure out what all this stuff was for, and I still have trouble remembering what I need to get rid of versus what I can keep. Whenever I go to clean a house, I basically use maybe 4 products: Barkeeper's Friend, Comet, Mr. Clean, and my homemade APC with dish soap and alcohol. That's all I need. What is more important are these. So whenever you're cleaning, the only things that you're really concerned about will be how fast you get it done and how much physical effort you have to put into cleaning. The third offshoot of that would be what it smells like when you're done. And I think that's not even the third offshoot. I think that is the number one thing that I think about whenever I clean. How does it make my house smell? I don't want my house smelling like bleach. Other people don't think that their house is clean unless it smells like bleach. Anyway, I'm getting off track. This stuff is all about speed and effort because they're designed to grab a hold of dirt in a very specific way. So whenever I'm cleaning a tub or I'm cleaning a sink, kitchen sink, bathroom sink, doesn't matter, I use these. And we talked about that a little bit earlier. It's because of this little scratchy thing. It gets rid of any chunks of dirt or any big kind of built-in dirt on a bathtub or a sink very, very quickly. So used in combination with Comet or Barkeeper's Friend, this is amazing to use. So what's the difference between this and these? These are melamine sponges, and these are also known as Mr. Clean Magic Erasers. These are not the Mr. Clean version. These are the exact same thing as the Magic Erasers. These are just the generic version. They're kind of brittle, and so when you're not used to using them, they can tear, and it may be annoying. You just have to learn to use it without using a bunch of pressure. But this will basically, without chemicals, take out most stains. And all you have to do is wet them down. They're basically, they don't feel like it, but they basically boil down to kind of an extremely microscopic level sandpaper for countertops or whatever, but they don't dull anything up. That's the difference between this sponge and this sponge. But this is what I sell on my website, and these are my go-to things for cleaning. The number one thing that I use is an ultrafine microfiber rag. This is also known as a glass cloth. It's slick. Even though they call it microfiber, it feels more like polyester. But this is what I use to dry off the surfaces that I cleaned with another rag. So for instance, I'll take a regular microfiber towel, I'll clean a surface with whatever chemical I'm going to use, but then if it's a shiny surface like a mirror, a sink, a countertop, I'll dry it with this, and this is what gets rid of the streaks. This is the difference between a clean surface and a shiny surface. This is more like a polish sort of thing. I sell the living crap out of these things on MidwestMagicCleaning.com. They are the most useful rag that I use in my entire arsenal. We talked about this and a little bit about this, which is just a regular everyday microfiber rag. These are 16 inches by 16 inches, and I use them for everything. Biggest thing about these is you'll want to fold them whenever you're using them. Fold them once like this, a second time like this. If you want, you can even fold it again, but we'll just do it in fourths, because what you can do is clean with this side, then flip it over and clean with this side. Then you can fold it in on itself, and you got two brand new sides. That's 4 and that side. Then when you get done with all those, you can open the whole thing up and fold it on itself again and start the process over. You've got 4 brand new sides. So you got 8 surfaces to work with on one rag. And then again, follow it up with this on anything shiny, and that's how I do my basic clean. Sometimes these things stick to your fingers. This one's even sticking to mine. It really trips people out, and it grosses people out to have that texture on their fingers. So what I do instead is, these are honeycomb microfiber cloths. They're made a different way than these, so they're not fuzzy. They're more like the texture of the old school dish rags, and they've got that honeycomb design on them, or some people call them waffle cloths. And that doesn't stick to your fingers and gross you out. I sell a lot of these on the site too. These are also a little bit tougher than these as far as scrubbing power. So if you got bigger messes, these get it off a little bit easier than microfiber. If you got a really tough mess, you can use these. It's hard to tell, but these are kind of see-through. They're a mesh rag, and these are extremely good with dishes and big spills on, say, your stovetop or whatever. Process is exactly the same. Clean it and scrub it with this and whatever chemical you're going to use, and then dry it off with the microfiber. And then the most specialized rag that I have is this. This is a suede microfiber. It feels just like suede, even though it's not made out of suede. And if you have things that are special, like say crystalware or a TV screen or something that's easily scratched, this is what you'd use to, again, dry it off with. You'll clean it with a regular microfiber and then dry it off with these. And it's really protective of easily scratched items. But I'm not just telling you this because I want to sell you rags. I'm telling you this because in my experience of doing thousands of houses in both an old school cleaning business that I used to have and on the channel, I've discovered that most of those chemicals do basically the same thing. Some are meant for getting stuff off of the surface. Other ones are meant to remove stains. Most of them are meant to make your surfaces smell better. But these are the things that really get things clean, is having the right rags. But when it's all said and done, it really depends on how dirty is your house. If it's so bad that it looks like the videos that I do in my extreme cleanups, you could use a whole bunch of these things to make things a whole lot easier. If your house looks like mine, where it's just a little bit dusty, you can get away with just water or a little bit of dish soap and water. In fact, a lot of times I will be doing dishes, and if the dishwater isn't nasty by the time I'm done with it, which most of the time it's not, I'll just use the rag that I used in my dishwater to wipe down the counters, dry them with the ultra fine, and that's it. That's all I need. But definitely don't let this stuff overwhelm you. I know when you're walking down a Walmart aisle or a Dollar General aisle and you see all this stuff lined up and you're trying to figure out what's the best thing to clean this thing, or what's the fastest, most powerful thing that I can use to clean this other thing. It just depends on what type of dirt and how much is in there. Don't let this stuff overwhelm you. It's not necessary, but it's useful, especially to guys like me who clean for a living. Well, hopefully that makes everything easier, because I know when I first started out, all that stuff was overwhelming and it took forever to figure it all out. If you haven't subscribed, please consider it, because by the time we get to 1 million subscribers, which won't be all that much longer, I will stop asking for your subscriptions forever. So we're almost there. We're about 86% of the way there now. And make sure to check us out at MidwestMagicCleaning.com, where we sell t-shirts and hoodies and calendars and a whole lot more stuff than just the logos. We've got all kinds of cool t-shirts and all the rags and stuff like that. If this video helped you out at all, let me know in the comments. And if it didn't help you out, let other people know in somebody else's channel's comments, because I don't want to see that, man. Constructive criticism is bad. Just for my ego. Anyway, members, I'll see you all this Wednesday. Everybody else, I'll see you next weekend. Later.